Video has begun. Everybody get ready to record in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Knockety knock.
Who is there?
Sí, soy yo.
But, that was Spanish.
Sí, soy yo. Who?
No.
Did that literally mean yes,
here.
I am I?
Yes.
Okay.
I would translate that as yes, it's me, but sure, you could say yes, I am I.
I thought me was me. All right. I am going to play the intro now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning into the Friday Flagship on the Crypto Basic Podcast. This episode is being released on July the 13th of 2018. I am Michael Lockie, and I'll be joined on this episode by Brent Philbin.
Hey, that's me.
And Kareem Baruche.
And that is Joe, or me, or Jiangsu.
Just a reminder, our Friday Flagship is a weekly recording we launch to cover current events, news, and other ways to help you wade through all the nonsense that gets tossed around in the cryptocurrency world. So let's get started, shall we, gentlemen?
Indeed.
Ready to go.
Is there an announcement that Brent is dying to make?
Yeah, Brent, is there an announcement that you're dying to make that we forgot to do last week?
Yeah, well, we did absolutely forget last week to announce our winner of the monthly contest. It was Mulligan Mike. He was our first non-founding member that won. So in addition to being able to pick one of our episodes, he became a founding member. And he's chosen a topic of
Wait, Brent, time out. I have a question for you. How did Mulligan Mike win? Like, what did he do to win? How did he become a founding member? I feel like I missed that part.
He was on Team Kareem.
Oh!
Well, Kareem, there's this portfolio competition that we did as a team.
Okay.
And everybody got to pick a team, one of our three teams. And since you had the best results for the month, then we randomly selected one of your team members to win either a shirt, a topic of their choice, and what was the third option?
They could
ask us some questions.
You know what, Mike? That does ring a bell. Now I remember. So he selected my team. My team won again for like the whatever, like every time. That's probably why we forgot, because we've been winning so much. I just want to congratulate everybody. Whoa, Mike! No eye rolling. All right.
I'm going to eye roll whenever I feel like it.
Also important, Kareem is supposed to pick something embarrassing that the loser has to do, which was Mike, but he couldn't come up with anything. Poor guy.
That is not what happened. Here's what happened. I decided, totally unrelated to not being able to come up with an idea, that I hate centralization, so that I'm going to bring it to my team to help me come up with a good humiliation thing that we could do for Mike. We could either do something that he has to do on the next flagship, or some picture that he has to put up. Let's just embarrass Mike. Here's a heads up. It's really hard to embarrass Mike. Here's another heads up. It's not Impractical Jokers. We don't get paid millions of dollars. So, don't tell him that he has to skate down, Fifth Avenue wearing a Speedo. And let's embarrass him, but let's keep it manageable. I'm relinquishing my power and distributing it amongst the Crypto Basic family.
Wow, way to spin that.
Yeah.
That was quite the spin job. Let's get on to the current events section, though, Kareem. It looks like you want to talk about an interview with Vitalik and TechCrunch. What happened?
Yes, I do. Real quick, before we move on, did you get to say what Mike wanted to do, or should we just surprise the audience with that, Brent, as far as Mulligan Mike's choice?
Yeah, we'll tease it, because we're actually not sure where we're going with it, but he wanted to hear us discuss game theory. So we are going to do one of those kind of open-ended episodes.
Should be fun.
I promise we're not going to transport into the future, but we're going to do an episode on game theory.
Man, that was one of our funnest episodes to record. That future episode, we had such a good time. Look, everybody really, really liked that. So
yeah, that was cool.
Kudos to you guys for helping create that. That was super, super cool. And interestingly enough, I think game theory is a really cool topic as just a general learning point, and you can use it to make a lot of decisions in your life. So I think that's going to be a fun episode too. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. All right. So Mike, you did lead into me as far as Vitalik and centralization. So he did an interview with TechCrunch, and he kind of made some waves because he had a controversial statement. But basically, he started talking about centralization in cryptocurrency. He mentioned how back in 2013, when Ghash got really close to being able to have 51%, everybody freaked out, and then they, chose to step down a little bit. And now you have Bitmain becoming more and more powerful, getting closer and closer to 51%, and that it seems like people are much more indifferent about it. But specifically, the quote that really, really sent waves and got people talking was they asked him about exchanges and Coinbase, and he said that, quote, "I definitely hope that centralized exchanges go burn in hell as much as possible."
Ooh.
And he was particularly bothered by the idea that projects have to pay $10 million or $50 million just to get listed, which, look, I don't really know what the cost of getting an exchange, a coin listed on an exchange is, like the real cost to the exchange. But $10 million seems absolutely absurd.
So something I want to add here real quick that I find particularly interesting every time we talk about Vitalik is because I have to mentally keep in the frame that he is actually like relevantly younger than I am. And there's very few situations in America where we're going to run into somebody in their 20s with as much power, intelligence, and responsibility to many people as Vitalik has. So when I see comments like this, it kind of reminds me of like when really popular athletes get cornered and they like say something really stupid and that they probably don't regret it, but like they know it's not politically correct to say these kind of things. Like, I just feel like it's so easy for someone like him to kind of blow off on the cusp and not really care about the repercussions about it.
Yeah, no question about it. This is definitely one of those things where every little thing that somebody like this says is going to be scrutinized. And, any of us, if any of us had every little word we said, like just picked apart like this, we would all have instances of looking, terrible and of course people want to interpret it their own ways. And actually it's funny you mentioned Vitalik's power because CZ, the CEO of Binance, actually addressed it in a response. He tweeted out that a bunch of people had been asking him how he feels about Vitalik's comments. And, right off the bat, he started saying, well, we shouldn't wish each other to burn in hell, and we should appreciate that we're part of a bigger ecosystem. As a quick side note, I don't think Vitalik was saying, I hope the people burn in hell. I mean, he's clearly saying, I hope centralized exchanges disappear.
Well, more along my point, and I know that this was more common with Brent and I maybe than you, for example, but we were very exaggerated individuals, and like our storytelling, it just gets very broad and like, oh, I wish all exchanges would burn in hell. Like, it's just like kind of a natural thing that young men do.
Just a comment.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bad way to get your point across that I've realized in life, because what'll happen is if you use something like that in an argument, it doesn't matter what your point is anymore. The person is just going to be like, oh, you told me to burn in hell, so your argument's invalid. But I still fucking do stuff like that. But yeah, he definitely...
People will always latch on to the most absurd or weakest part of your argument. That's why you always have to construct it so carefully. Also, he mentioned that, and this is a fair point. CC mentions that without exchanges, we would have less liquidity, that we would have a lower market cap, crypto would have less influence, that we would have a smaller industry, and therefore development would probably be slower because the development teams would be smaller. And he actually said that he thinks it would be by like a 10x factor, that centralized exchanges have allowed crypto to grow by at least tenfold. And this is the interesting part when you said about Vitalik, Mike. He argued that if you want to talk about centralization, that there's nobody in crypto right now that has more king-like powers than Vitalik himself, and that he uses the power. He uses it when he becomes an advisor for certain ICOs, boosting them. Obviously his power his word has a lot of influence. And then the last argument that CZ made, kind of defending centralized exchanges, is that, and I actually do agree with this point. Out of all the points he made, this is the one I agree with the most. He argued that a small step towards decentralization that is adopted by 1 billion people is more impactful than a giant step towards decentralization that is only adapted by a few dozen people. And of course, that makes sense. And lastly, Binance is working towards that decentralized exchange, right? I mean, I haven't heard about it in a while, but I know that that's something that
it's a long-term process.
Right.
Just real quick, going back to your other point where you were discussing about the arguments and whatnot, like we should do an episode on Kareem breaking down how to argue with people, because that would be our best episode ever.
Well, my summary of debating, by the way, is jujitsu. The best way to debate is jujitsu.
Is Brent still alive, or is
throw your opponents on the floor? Here? Can you hear me?
Brent did disappear.
Because that joke was totally for him and just went totally.
Wait,
right.
No, I'm here.
Let's just take a quick pause here. All right, so we just had some technical difficulties there. Unfortunately, our IT specialist crapped out. But we were talking about Vitalik, I think, right, Mike?
Yes, we were. And I had made a little bit of a joke that I would like Kareem to record an Arguments 101 so that he can help depict what types of arguments and how to make them, because Brett could really use that lesson when he talks to Kareem about things.
Anybody. I have a very abrasive way of arguing, and I know I do that, but that doesn't make it easy to not do. So
is there more we want to get into about Vitalik here?
Well, there was one little extra story while we're on it. But first of all, Brent, I have a question for you. Do you know if Vitalik is happy?
Oh, I think he might be. So for those of you who are here, you're about to see, you know what? Those of you who are seeing this on YouTube are going to see something interesting here. I think. You know what? No, I'm not going to risk it. No. We're just going to hear it.
Link in the show notes.
Link is in the show notes. So here we go. You can imagine Vitalik just doing this very Vitalik thing, just sitting there.
By the way,
being very
real
happy.
Quick before you do it, I want to give full credit to Lummyflux for sharing this on our Discord a couple of days ago. Lummyflux, let me tell you something, my man. The second I saw this, it became my favorite thing on the planet. So I love you. And for those of you that like it, I have good news for you. We will use it many, many times in the future. For those of you that don't like it, I have bad news for you, because this is an official song of Crypto Basic now. Hit it, Brad.
Vitalik clapping, Vitalik impressed.
And the whole time you see Vitalik clapping. And he's happy.
Vitalik is impressed.
So impressed.
Vitalik clapping. Vitalik clapping.
So the ironic thing about that is that when I take a look at Vitalik, I don't see happy at all.
No, that's what it was so awesome.
I know, that's the beauty of this.
In the video, he is happy and he's clapping and smiling. It's beautiful. Anyway, this is not a happy story though.
We're take a sharp right turn real quick.
Yeah. So actually, the extra Vitalik story is, you guys know those Twitter bots that whenever like Vitalik or Charles Hoskinson or somebody like that.
Crypto Candor tweets.
Oh yeah. Anybody who's big time in crypto, like Crypto
Right.
Candor, not schmucks like us.
Right.
We don't have it yet. We don't have it yet.
Anyway, so these bots come in under which try to mimic the account. They post right under it, so it looks like the account is continuing a tweet. So Elon Musk tweeted out, quote, "I want to know who is running the Ethereum scam bots, mad skills," just because they've been so successful, right? So I guess this really like hurt Vitalik or it was unfortunate because he sent out a tweet where he's like, "I do wish that Elon Musk's first tweet about Ethereum was about the technology rather than the Twitter scam bots." And then he tags the CEO of Twitter at Jack, "Can you please help us? Or someone from the Ethereum community make a layer 2 scam filtering solution, please." And, I do feel from this spot, like, I mean, they're getting ridiculous. I don't know if Twitter can even handle it, but it's just so bad and so much money is being made. These bots are so efficient. Whatever. I just thought it was worth adding on there that it's gotten bad enough that like Vitalik is publicly pleading with the CEO of Twitter, "Can you please do something about this?"
You know how easy this would be? This would be as easy as the top comment on a post cannot have the same picture as the poster. Like if the picture's the same, it just gets deleted or filtered out.
Or go to the bottom or
Done.
something. Yeah.
That's it. Because the picture being the same is what tricks them. And it's not the username, it's always the picture.
Well, in combination with the username that looks almost identical, but you're right in the sense that changing the picture.
Is it possible that Twitter could allow any of the blue check marks to have exclusive photos? Is that possible? It seems like it should be, right?
Yeah, but that's not fair to like Crypto Candor doesn't have a blue check mark. We don't have a blue check mark.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, I just think that why do you have to have the same picture as somebody else?
Okay, but the scam bots are targeting the large authenticated accounts, like the ones that have these blue check marks. That's the purpose. These blue check marks are supposed to help filter these types of things out. But when the picture is the same, the title's the same,
Mike,
they even try to get the context the same.
I don't mind the idea, but to emphasize Brent's point, Charles Hoskinson doesn't have a blue check mark.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of other things that should be fixed first along the way. But like, if we're talking about this conversation, this is how I would handle it.
No, but what I'm saying though is if you can get, like you're saying, you have to start somewhere. Fine, okay, that applies to our buddy Crypto Candor. But if you get to Charles's level and you don't have a blue check mark, then clearly that's a different complaint about Twitter. Like, yes, anybody with that much of a following should have the ability to go through the verification process necessary to earn that blue check mark. Yeah.
Yep. I think that also on top of the picture, the name is always the same. So CZ Binance, their @ is not the same. Their username is not the same, but the display name is always the same. So same picture or same display name can't be part of a comment string. Boom, done.
Yeah, I like that solution actually, Brent.
Like, I don't know how easy that is to code, but
oh, for sure, it sounds like a nightmare. But they're way smarter than we are.
A comma here, it's FRT. Coding's not that hard.
In bracket,
fart. Comma fart is the specific thing that Kareem just put into the code. That sounds like something I would program.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Brent, I know that you've talked a lot about Augur over the years, or the months at least, and it appears you have some news. What has happened here?
I just think it's interesting to note that Augur finally launched. So they have been in beta for a very long time. They were basically one of the first ICOs, if not the first, depending on your definition. If your definition is ICO is started to launch after Ethereum existed, then they're the first ICO. So they were the first one to do an initial coin offering on Ethereum as a DApp. They're a prediction market similar to Predictit or similar to a sports book. So they have shares that you can buy of the different bets, kind of like, is this going to happen? Yes or no? And one of the things that I'm just going to throw out a couple of these. One of them is Ethereum based. That market now. One of the things that exists in life is it is very likely that a group of people are able to predict events with reasonable amount of accuracy. Not great, but a large group of people is much better than an individual person at trying to predict things. It has an 85% probability that Ethereum will be above $500 by the end of 2018. Now, that means there's a 15% chance, according to the Augur Swarm, that it's not. Interesting. And before you get too excited, though, the Augur prediction market currently has Trump getting a second term at 42%. So if that's an accurate number, that's scary as hell. But
yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's terrible in a two-party system, though. You know what I'm saying? That's basically saying that in a coin flip scenario, this guy has, it's just tough. There's only going to be two options, unfortunately. So,
yeah,
a 42%er is not that high either.
I think at first I thought that was higher than it should be, but I mean, him being 40% against a 58%er, that seems pretty accurate.
You just have to think about it as an incumbency, right? Incumbent presidents have a huge advantage. Anything less than 50% is very low.
Right. I also find that every like 4 Novembers that go by, when I look at the results, it always shocks me how close the results are. Most of them are won by less than a 58%. So like this actually seems like pretty poor chance for him overall.
Yeah. And Brent, this does remind me. I don't remember if it was called Wisdom of the Crowds or whatever it was called, but there was like an experiment. This was deciphered first by, I think it was like a British mathematician or something, but it was explaining that like if you have a contest at a fair, and when he originally did it, I think they were trying to guess the weight of a cow or the weight of a bull. And if you take any one person's guess, they're pretty random. But if you have a large group of people guessing and you take the average of their guess, it's like really close to the actual number, which is interesting. And the way I always interpreted that is that the error rates that humans have probably distribute in both directions. Like for
equally.
Every person that overestimates, there's somebody who underestimates by a similar percentage. I don't know.
But I mean, these numbers are kind of cool because if 42% of the people think he's going to get reelected and 58% don't, well, then if you make a large enough sample of people polling that, well, that number is going to become really accurate. And that because that's their votes also. The people that are helping make these predictions are also the ones casting the votes. So
yeah, but you know what? That's also it's just worth noting that like one of the mistakes that a lot of polling and stuff like that do is they'll, for example, ask, oh, what's the favorability rating, right? And when you ask people what the favorability rating is, you're asking everybody. So a lot of people that don't vote will say, oh, I think he's a clown, but they don't vote. So that's not necessarily representative of the actual voting population. It's not representative of the electoral college, et cetera, et cetera.
Kareem, I know you're going to be happy to hear this, but I promise you I will make my first vote next year or next election.
That makes me happy. Definitely vote. Whoever you believe in, vote.
I've been very against it for most of my life. I've completely changed my tune these last couple of years. And
you're like, oh, so this is what happens when people don't vote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I take partial responsibility for my efforts thus far, and I will change that going forward. So, Brent, there was a hack on a Bancor exchange. What kind of details do you have here?
So, Bancor is a decentralized exchange. It's kind of the like go-to decentralized exchange for other decentralized exchanges deciding how they're going to do things. And they were hacked and had funds stolen, which off the top of my head didn't make any sense, right? They're a decentralized exchange. How did they get hacked? That's kind of the fucking point, right? Well, apparently the way Bancor does things is certain people hold a lot of coins there to be liquidity nodes so that you can go through them and in the end get peer-to-peer decentralized trades without going through Bancor, but really you're kind of going through these other people who have a lot of the coins, right? So they got away with somewhere around 2,600 Ethereum, and they also managed to compromise a giant pool of actual Bancor tokens. But Bancor has the ability to freeze their tokens, and they froze them. So this decentralized
What kind
exchange,
of decentralized exchange? Yeah.
Yeah, this decentralized exchange has the ability to freeze its own tokens. And whatever, I guess it kind of worked out here with stopping the hack, but there's nothing decentralized about that at all. So
yeah, I mean, that's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we're like, yeah, you guys stopped the hack. Wait, who had the power to freeze the what? Yeah. Decentralized how?
Well, it's one thing if they're like, it's one thing Binance should be able to freeze Binance coin. I see no arguments there, but if they're
centralized,
they're centralized though. If this is a decentralized exchange, my question is, who made the decision to freeze the coins?
It's weird when it comes to their own native tokens. Like a decentralized exchange, to me, my vision is, if I'm going to have, I don't know anything about Bancor, so I don't want to necessarily
this is theoretical.
Them.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if I have a token, a Mike token, and I want to run a decentralized exchange, and I have 10 pairs with Mike tokens, and then other people connect to my decentralized exchange, and they can trade, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin for my Mike tokens back and forth to each other. And I could see a scenario where it makes sense to like be able to protect my Mike tokens, but maybe not have access to the wallets, the accounts of everybody connecting to me. But I don't know where to draw these lines. We've talked about this, the line in the sand between decentralization and centralization. It makes sense the larger the company grows to be decentralized, but these small companies are just getting ravaged trying to be decentralized as well.
Right, Mike. But I think we have to distinguish between two things. One thing is whether or not centralization makes sense in certain cases. And I think that in that perspective, your point is completely valid, right? Like, and it's one of the points that CC was making to Vitalik. Like, hey, centralized exchanges are playing a pivotal role. But the question here is, if you are decentralized, who had the power to make that decision? I'll put it to you another way. If somebody wanted to freeze Bitcoin, who could do it? And the answer right now is nobody. Nobody could do it if they wanted to. The fact that somebody could freeze the Bancor tokens is indicative that they weren't decentralized. That's right. More or less.
No, I'm not arguing that, but I don't know that it's bad to have that option either. It's just kind of complicated.
I don't know that it's bad to have that option, but you're just not a decentralized exchange at that point. Or you are partially decentralized. Like you said, I don't remember. I've never really looked. Right, I haven't really looked into Bancor. Yeah, you could say, but you know what's interesting too, though, is how are you going to update code? I guess you would have to do it kind of a la Bitcoin. Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I'm starting to think we're not going to see truly decentralized exchanges for a while.
Yeah, me neither. I just don't think they don't have the security. They don't have the liquidity. There's so many things they don't have.
I think we'll finally get a real one when Binance does it. But we have fully decentralized exchanges. The EtherDelta is completely decentralized. There's no decision. There's no trust there whatsoever. So the point is, Bancor is not.
Okay. But there was a huge hack with EtherDelta too, and tons of people got money stolen because
EtherDelta's website was hacked.
Okay.
That wasn't the EtherDelta ecosystem.
My entire point here is that EtherDelta probably could have protected the exchange significantly better had they not been a decentralized exchange. And I think that would have made the customers a lot safer there.
Right. But I don't know how much they got away with on EtherDelta, but centralized exchanges have stolen a lot more money from the community than the EtherDelta hack by just being like, see you later, Mount Gox.
Well, somebody out there is going to come up with the right way to do this. I think this is just indicative that we're not there yet.
Yeah. So anyway, to finish this story,
go ahead.
To finish the story, Bancor not trustless, and Switcheo, which is the Neo decentralized exchange, came out with an article which we'll put in the show notes where they're explaining like how this works, and they're like, the funds weren't hacked from the exchange. The funds were hacked from these points of failure, which were the liquidity nodes of the people. We don't have that either. So Switcheo doesn't have that. They also cannot freeze their chain. But the
okay.
Wait. Let me finish. But Switcheo can freeze trading. They can stop trading. They can't stop you from taking your funds back out, but they can stop trading going back and forth.
I'm okay with the idea of stopping trading. That just means that something goes down. What I don't think is really comparable is to say, let's compare Ether Delta or an exchange that just focuses on Neo tokens. Like at the end of the day, when we're talking about a decentralized exchange, we're talking about being able to exchange tokens that aren't part of the same platform, right? Because honestly, like, I mean, this might be an ignorant thing to say, but when you're just talking about something that can trade ERC20 tokens, to me, that's almost like a decentralized application running on Ethereum that's exchanging tokens. So my understanding is that Bancor was trying to do more, and that's why they would need liquidity nodes. So I think it's kind of a pretty ridiculous criticism to say, oh, well, we don't have liquidity nodes. Okay, but you're only trading native tokens from one platform. So you're not even trying to do what these guys are trying to do. I'm definitely not trying to defend Bancor, but I don't feel it's
I don't know enough
comparison.
about Bancor to know heads or tails whether they're whether they're good or not, but I just know that this happened and it didn't make sense for a decentralized exchange's funds to get hacked. Like you couldn't do that to Ether Delta.
All right, guys. So I'm definitely looking forward to the time where Binance comes up with their own decentralized exchange. But for the meantime, it looks like they're about to make about $1 billion in 2018. Is that right, Kareem?
Yeah, it looks like they can actually get to that number, which would be insane. They would surpass a ton of major financial institutions. CZ told Bloomberg that he expects the minimum profit for 2018 for Binance to be $500 million. And best case scenario, he thinks that they can make as much as $1 billion. They've already made $300 million in the past 6 months. That's
yeah. So what he's saying is these last 6 months, if we go down by 33%, we'll still hit 500 million. That's pretty impressive.
No, exactly. He's like, worst case scenario, we're going to get to 500 million. And look, obviously those numbers are insane. They're particularly insane when you remember that Binance is new. I mean, dude, they just turned 1 year old. Like literally, they had their ICO in July. How insane is that? And then there was also this great quote by CZ. He says, I just checked. Bitcoin price was $2,500 a year ago. Today, it's $6,800. And trading volume for BTC was 780 million a year ago. Today, it's 3.4 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. So that definitely shows some significant growth. And I guess since we're on the topic of Binance, oh no, hold on a second. Brent came back. He disappeared. He had to go pee or something. Hi, Brent. Welcome back to the show. Where'd you go?
Doing escape key stuff.
Okay. Anyway, so I just read the quote about CZ and trading volume going up, the fact that Binance is only a year old, but I see that you had here a little extra annotation.
Oh, yeah. Binance donated $1 million to the victims of the flooding in West Japan. So there was a lot of flooding this week. CZ went on Twitter, went crazy about he's just like, look, we're putting $1 million in this fund. Everybody else should donate to this fund too. We're trying to help Japan because there was at least 60 or 70. I'm making up numbers, but there was a lot of people that were dead because of it. It was more than 40. I just don't remember what it was.
Anyway, so Binance continues to do things correctly, and it really blows my mind that we're talking about a company that just turned one. That's just insane to me.
I would say Binance Coin was probably one of my better calls overall. I was in it pretty early and was really happy to be in it pretty early. So I really see them doing extremely well the rest of the way. As long as they keep up their morals and they understand how powerful they are and don't, take a poker style route or something along those lines.
Which generally those in centralized positions with a lot of power end up doing because that is the incentive. So hopefully
eventually the incentives get very, very high. I agree with that. Eventually the incentives become extremely high and it becomes significantly harder, especially because they're a reasonably small company. They don't have that many employees. They're always hiring because they're so far behind, but they're making the best of it. So
More
I just
rake
really hope that they stay.
Actually better.
No, stop.
More rake is better. So the SEC won't let me be. They're just still on pause there.
I'm just trying. I don't know what any. I don't know what this is. What is the CBOE?
Chicago Board of something. Equities, probably.
This is electronic traded funds.
Yes.
I don't even. What is a good transition? I don't even know how to word this.
I don't know. Brent, tell me about the SEC.
Yeah.
All right, Brent. So it looks like the SEC is opened up some public comments. What do we got here?
Well, the SEC is opening up the public comment period for a Bitcoin ETF that the CBOE, which is Chicago Board of something. I might have even typoed. No, CBOT is the Chicago Board of Trade. But anyway, you can go to the link in the show notes and put a comment about why it is okay for a Bitcoin ETF to exist. I guess this is a period that whenever there's a new listing on the SEC, they take comments and you get to talk about things. So as long as it's not run by Ajit Pai, then it'll probably be helpful for cryptocurrency in the long run. So get on there.
Side note. Aside from the fact that Ajit Pai is a corrupt piece of shit, okay, since you put these news out here, do you know what they just tried to do? They just tried to pass, and on top of the fact that they got rid of net neutrality, the SEC just tried to pass a new rule that says you have to pay $250 to file a complaint. So if Verizon, who Ajit Pai used to work for, if Verizon charges you an extra $200 on your bill, or a Comcast, it literally is minus EV for you to complain to the agency that oversees them. And they got such public outrage that they took it back just yesterday or this morning. And I'm sure they're going to come up with some other stuff. Bro, you know what? Like, you're not supposed to wish harm upon anybody. I wish harm upon Ajit Pai. That corrupt piece of garbage. I can't wait for him to be out of office. And I hope that they find all the whatever emails or conversations he's had, because I can't. Let's forget.
Do you hope he burns in hell?
Oh, yes. Oh man, that's tough. Just because hell doesn't exist, so I would rather wish some kind of real suffering here.
Yeah, he's just like floating in space for eternity, like with no hope for not being imprisoned.
All kidding aside, when I say I wish some kind of suffering, I'm talking about either jail time or at least public shaming. Obviously, I don't wish real harm on another human being, but this guy is a piece of human garbage.
Kareem, I have to let you know, your pink headphones are pretty sweet, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're Paulus. Thank you.
They're a nice touch.
They fit your head very properly. So you have a very feminine physique, and you should definitely always buy women's headphones when you do.
And we're jealous.
Thanks, guys. I feel great.
All right, Kareem. So enough tickling your behind. Let's go over to the JPMorgan internal reports. What are they looking like?
Well, as we know, JPMorgan has publicly only said bad things about crypto, that it's terrible, and Jamie Dimon thinks it's awful and a scam or whatever. Well, the internal report from JPMorgan that they commissioned on cryptocurrency actually said it concluded that Ripple, these are the ones they actually named, Ripple, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Dash, and Litecoin are here to stay. It makes a couple other predictions that prices are going to continue to fluctuate wildly, and that they're going to face a lot of volatility. They say that blockchain appears to have a promising future once certain loopholes are fixed. Real cutting edge stuff here, guys, by the way. This is the kind of
what year is this?
This is the kind of research that the JPMorgan market cap can yield. And lastly, I thought this part was pretty cool. Oh yeah, they did. And lastly, they said that investors would continue to invest in blockchain because of its decentralization, and that peer-to-peer networks are going to continue to thrive. Now, a lot of the articles that I read on this did make a big deal about the contradiction. They're like, oh, this contradicts JPMorgan's public position and all that. And I guess the only thing I'll say about that is we're talking about a big organization. So the people who are commissioned to do this research, whether they work for JPMorgan or they're contractors, are not necessarily the executives up top. So just because the executive said, okay, I want you to do a report on this, and the report came back with maybe something they didn't want to hear or whatever, it doesn't really, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like it's a massive contradiction because we don't know who actually wrote this report. But it is good to know that even the internal reports of the bank are saying crypto's here to stay, blockchain is the real deal, and decentralization and peer-to-peer networks are going to continue to become more and more prevalent.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Least surprising thing I've ever heard.
Yep. Good hard-hitting journalism.
Let's move on to the crypto around the world.
Oh, wait, I got that. Hold on.
We should just take this away from Brent. It's just so much better in editing.
Maybe I don't have it. Oh, no. I don't have the crypto around the world drop. All right.
That's a scam. All right, Jason, please insert crypto around the world drop here. The only drop that won't come out from only one headphone.
I fixed that problem.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
All right, Kareem, looks like Europe's largest trader of ETFs is moving into crypto. What's this story all about?
Yeah, their name is Flow Traders NV. They're an Amsterdam-based speed trader. And what we mean by speed trader is they engage in what's called high-frequency trading. So that's a type of trading that uses algorithms and is characterized by really high speeds, high turnover rates, and high order-to-trade ratios. So they're literally just trying to squeeze out small edges, making these lightning fast trades, and they're just putting in massive volume using financial data and electronic tools that us humble peasants do not have. Now, this company in particular has been making markets based on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And even though there are 5 major US speed traders that have been making markets in crypto futures, this is the largest European-based one that's entering the market. The CEO of this company, his name is Dennis Dijkstra, and all I could think about was The Witcher because there's a character on The Witcher named Dijkstra, so that's cool. Anyway, he said the following, quote, "People underestimate crypto. It's big, and it is to be regulated very soon. The market participants are much more professional than people think, and institutional investors are interested. We know because we are getting the requests." Now, the enthusiasm towards crypto is not shared by the regulatory agencies in Holland. So the Dutch Authority for the Financial Markets, which is the AFM, they sent out their spokeswomen, and she said the following. You guys are going to love this quote. Quote, "We discourage activities in cryptos, both by consumers and professional license holders. By virtue of its newness and the anonymity it potentially offers, it is very prone to abuse. Given its inability to serve the promised purpose as a currency, we don't regard it to be an asset class." So I love that because it's saying nobody should use it because it's new, first of all. Anonymity's bad. And since it's not a currency, it's not an asset class at all. All right. Great stuff.
Yeah. Hard hitting.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we got plenty more time to buy. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, but look, the main point here is institutional investments, right? And this is the largest high-frequency trader in Europe. And this goes hand in hand with the fact that Goldman Sachs, who recently is setting up a digital asset trading desk, Barclays agreed to provide UK banking services for Coinbase. So we're seeing more and more expansion. We're seeing more and more acceptance. Whatever, we're just going to keep updating you as crypto becomes more and more popularized. And it's just a reminder that we mentally have to distinguish between the current price of cryptos and the adoption or popularity or institutional investment or interest, right? So yes, crypto has been declining massively over the last 6 months. But that doesn't mean that interest has been declining massively. And as we mentioned earlier from that quote from CZ, the Bitcoin price a year ago was 2,500. We're looking at 6,800 today. And the trading volume, which is arguably much more important, was 780 million a year ago. And today is 3.4 billion. So this space is growing. Just because the bubble of irrational exuberance burst doesn't mean that the space itself has hit a wall.
Yes, agreed. All accounts.
I mean, this is one of those stories that Kareem does such a good job on that I'm just like, man, you're just like, I just like to listen to you.
I like to sit by the fire.
I mean, really,
is happy, Kareem.
Thanks, Kareem.
De nada.
Alrighty, Brent. Looks like India has gone back and forth on blockchain. What else is happening?
So there was some definite bad news out of India. I think we even covered it last week. I can't remember. But on July 5th, there was a big deadline that passed, and they're going to be shutting down the cryptocurrency exchanges or banks or whatever is working there in India. But at the same time, an anonymous government official was quoted, but required to remain anonymous. I don't think anyone is really thinking of banning it, cryptocurrencies, altogether. The issue here is about regulating the trade, and we need to know where the money is coming from. Allowing it as a commodity may let us better regulate trade, so that is being looked at. An anonymous source from their government is basically saying, no, it's not gone for good. Like, we're just shutting it down for now until we can do some regulations. Sounds like maybe somebody's acquiring some crypto in in India. Like, literally, to me, that's what.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really hate the fact that every time one of these, government members like opens their mouth, that we have to consider what their motivations really are. This sounds like another one of the classic examples that's like, oh yeah, we're not sure about this whole thing, so just wait a little bit and let us make sure we know all about it. We get as much as we want, and then that way, then you guys can get let in afterwards.
Yep. Now that we have all our crypto, we're good to go. So yeah, whatever. We don't know what's going to happen in India, but I would say in the future we probably hear that India's good. They're going to allow it. It's all happy and dandy. And at the same time, we're also going to find out that either privately or publicly,
they're a liquidity node.
own coins. So it's definitely interesting.
And you want to move over to these 12 Korean exchanges that passed the security test?
Sure. We'll end this crypto around the world section with there's always some random Korean FUD, like, oh, they're going to kill all the Korean exchanges. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. Well, the Korean exchanges, all 12 of them that were reviewed by their internal government security force, whatever you want to call that, were all approved. So Dexco, Neoframe, Upbit, BitHum, GoPax, OKCoin Korea, Corbit, CoinOne, CoinJest, CoinPlug, Handbit, Wobi Korea, all good to go. And they're all going to be opening new commercial bank accounts as a result in the coming weeks. So all good news out of Korea for the Korean exchanges. Cannot initiate Korean FUD.
Sounds like good news to me. Anything else you want to add, Kareem?
No. Hooray for Asia, India, Korea. Let's do it.
Do we want to switch the mailbag with this?
Sure.
Or does it matter? All right.
Are we doing mailbag?
All right, let's move on to the mailbag section.
Yeah. Crypt Basic. Flagship Friday. You listen to the mailbag drop, where we break down a member's thoughts. Just starting crypto, don't you stop. Keep listening till you hit the spot. Woo!
Alrighty, from Brighydam on Monday. Hey guys, I'm curious as to your opinion of the emergence of trade-driven mining. Exchanges like FCoin, which has bogged the Ethereum network, and CoinEx. They seem to have a humongous Ponzi scheme that's going to explode in the next few months. Can't remember if you've already covered it, but I figured I'd ask nonetheless. Gentlemen, your response.
I'll take this.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Spoiler time. Before we recorded this episode, we recorded a 101 on FCoin because they are absolutely a scam. We want you to stay as far away from FCoin as possible, and anything that is using the FCoin model should absolutely not be touched. And it is very bad. So we didn't actually look into any of the other ones. We looked at FCoin because it's kind of the one that's
a scam.
Yeah, literally.
That's a scam.
Literally. We recorded the episode. It's coming out on Monday. You can learn exactly why and how. Stay very far away. Couple updates for that episode. Number one, I think it'll make sense when you listen to the episode. It is much more likely that the guy that we Googled is the same guy that we're talking about in the episode. We weren't sure.
Oh yeah. After we finished recording, we went into like a 20
All right,
minutes.
so unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to be on that episode, and I was not a part of it because I'm currently in California. We started recording at 8 a.m. my time, so they did the FCoin episode before I woke up. And then the first thing, the only thing that they wanted me to check on was, were these two people the same person? They sent me two pictures of an Asian man, and my opinion was it was possibly the same person, but I don't blame anybody that doesn't think it's the same person. And it's funny because Brent and I have a really long history of him mixing people up with the same culture for no reason at all, and it's fucking awesome. So, hey.
One thing we didn't mention.
That was my touch on FCoin.
So in the episode, basically, the guy who founded that coin is mentioned in an article as being the self-proclaimed future richest man in the world. And the names are the same, so we weren't sure how common the name was, right? And Kareem was scrolling through like the 7 reasons, and he got to reason 7, which was like he made a group of women shave their heads as part of his coin company. Now, we weren't sure that coin meant
promoting
crypto.
a coin.
Yeah, like we weren't sure that it meant crypto at the time.
That was. What else could it mean? He had his own fiat currency.
Maybe he's like a coin collector. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
but
okay.
the one before it specifically said promoting his own currency. So we're now fairly certain that the guy who runs this FCoin exchange has proclaimed that he will be the richest person on earth in the future and has been like arrested for scamming people before. So like, stay away.
I don't know that we're fairly certain. I mean, for me, fairly certain is a assurance rate of 90%.
I'm fairly
higher.
certain.
Yeah,
you might not be.
I'm gonna say my unbiased opinion. I would say it's about a 65% chance it's the same guy and 35% chance it's not.
Yeah, I was look, I have to boost up the numbers just because this is a crypto guy and he's in Asia and he's running Ponzi schemes. So I mean that all of that puts it at like 70. The pictures don't convince me. Brent's really mad at me. He thinks I'm afraid of being a racist because he doesn't look the same in both pictures. And according to Brent, every Asian person looks the same. So the fact that I even said that they might not look the same is completely like blasphemy. Look, it's
your
tough.
brain recognizes certain things in people. Your brain looks for certain things, certain features on people's faces. The glasses were totally different, but that's not a big deal. The hair was very different.
The skin tone was the biggest one. Like he definitely had a tan.
I wanted to save that one for last, but the shade of the skin is like several shades different. And
you know what?
Look, I'm actually fairly tan right now, so I look several shades different. So it's like possible that still can be him, but I just think that it's fair to leave open.
Can we do like a Twitter poll or a Discord poll where we just put up the picture that we found with the other picture, whichever picture you think most looks like the guy, we just put them side by side and we just ask people, is this the same person? Yes or no?
So I have a real hard time telling people apart of any race, any race, including white. I think
this is so true, by the way.
Like Mike will tell me like, yeah, that's that guy. And I'm like, what are you talking? That's that guy? Like I have a real hard time, like figuring out I don't know. Like my brain does not process people's faces that I haven't seen a lot.
Right. I can probably figure out what this is. Your brain works way faster than the rest of ours. So your brain makes a lot of assumptions. It just like sees people and it's like, whatever, that's the person. And it just like zoom, just goes on. Like,
I don't know. But here's what I will say. I'm willing to do the research. Kareem, you think it's 70%. I'm willing to take the over on 70%. Will you give me 4-1 on a bet that this is the guy?
Are you retarded? How's that 4-1?
80-20.
Well, he's saying he'll take 80-20.
80-20.
He's giving you a better. He's trying to give you a little bit, which is a good tactic that I use when I try to make bets. I like to take their number and just push it a little bit more in their favor, and then ask them to put the money where their mouth is.
I know that there's okay. So I'm conflicted here because on the one hand, I know there's a lot of people in Asia. On the other hand, how many people
there's a lot of people do actually look alike
that are Ponzi scheme masters of cryptocurrencies? Like that has to be a slightly smaller percentage of people. So if it's 0.0000001% of Asians that are in that group, that's only like 100 billion people. So no, I won't give you 4-1. However,
I meant the other way, lay 4-1, but
yeah, obviously. I will tease the fact, though, that we did make a bet. So this is our second official bet on the Crypto Basic podcast, which made me think we should have on our website, how we have portfolio contests and everything, we should have Crypto Basic bets with like the bet, the expiration date, and the
What was the first one?
we should also probably find somebody who knows how to put that on the website. That would be big.
Oh, I thought I was talking to our IT guy. Damn it.
Oh, you are. I just don't know how to do anything. So,
all right, I'll put it on there. I'll figure it out.
All right. So, very briefly, we're just moving to the rant sections. The last thing we're going to cover before we go. But I wanted to mention that earlier in this episode, when CZ was discussing the year that Bitcoin has had from a year ago to now, that actually got me thinking. I remember purchasing my first Bitcoin right around $2,500. So I've been busy this month and I decided to go back into my Coinbase account, and I've just passed last month. I did pass my 1-year anniversary of this Bitcoin journey. So it's interesting. It's complicated. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy. So happy. No, but thank you guys. And I do also just want to mention that I've had an incredible vacation. I should be home pretty soon to get caught up and get involved a little more. But Arizona, California has been amazing. Michigan, Maryland, it's been quite a month for me. So I highly recommend using your time wisely, folks.
Ship it.
And anything else we want to cover, guys? All right. That'll do it for the Crypto Basic podcast. My name was Mike. I was here with Brent and Kareem. Thanks again for tuning in.
the members of the Crypto Basic podcast
Play the outro.
are about to play the outro. And then, hold on. The members of the Crypto Basic podcast
Podcasts are not financial advisors. Their IT man is an idiot.
Everybody's an idiot.
Yeah,
Kareem won't put his money where his mouth is.
We're supposed to change it to fools.
Oh yeah, they're fools. They're fools.
The greater fools.
This was
Greatest.
the messiest outro ever.
And stop.
Stop.
All right, file export as MP3.